Federalism is the framework of the American political system. It influences how power is divided between the singular national and the many state governments. But let's get serious. What is federalism, and what is it that makes federalism so significant? Federalism is the structure by which authority is distributed between central and regional governments. Such an arrangement is focused on equilibrium, which provides adequate authority to the national government. This ensures cohesion while also safeguarding the state's powers to meet the locals' needs. However, we've concluded that this balance is not always ideal. It ranges from foundational documents all the way to pivotal Supreme Court rulings, and it has been seen that federalism has seen ongoing contention throughout history. Why do federal systems never throw surprise parties? Because they always delegate responsibilities in advance. So what made federalism become the fundamental principle of the U.S. government, and how has it developed to affect the nation as we know it today? Let's talk about that.
Alright. The aim of the Founding Fathers when crafting the U.S. Constitution was to obstruct weakness seen in the Articles of Confederation, in which the central government lacked proper power. What's a Federalist's favorite dance move? The separation of power slide. It's all about balance and no stepping on toes. Anyways, the new Constitution offered a solution to such an issue by allowing specific authorities to the federal government, including managing commerce, maintaining currency, and declaring war. These are what is known as enumerated powers and are explained in Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution. Let's now talk about the 10th Amendment, which designated all powers to the states. A dual structure like this was made to refute tyranny and did so by distributing powers in government. That's it.
The exact definition of federalism has progressed over time, particularly because of the Supreme Court's decision-making. Ruling like McCulloch v. Maryland, 1819, was what defined the doctrine of implied powers, ultimately leading to Congress authority that reached beyond what was actually mentioned in the Constitution. The Supreme Court case also backed up the Supremacy Clause, as it defined that states can no longer impose taxes on federal entities, including the National Bank. One more vital case was Gibbons v. Ogden, 1824, which was what brought in Congress power and allowed it to oversee interstate trade, which showed how federal authority could overrule state law in matter dealing with trade between states. Let's shift towards the present, and we can see that federalism remains in place. Why don't Federalists play hide and seek? Because no one can agree on whose jurisdiction it is to count to 10. As seen in the United States v. Lopez, 1995, the Supreme Court limited Congress' ability to use the Commerce Clause, and did so by ruling that federal law could no longer control gun usage near schools since it was deprived of different connections to interstate commerce. This ruling was what initiated a shift back towards the authority of the states, illustrating that the dynamics of federalism are subjected to current discussion. And scene.
Federalism was an idea born from necessity, a long sought-out, promising compromise between those advocating for a strong central government and those wary of it. On one hand, federalism gave much of the power to the states. It enables them to experiment with different policies, oftentimes awarding them the label laboratories of democracy. For example, Colorado has been a pioneer state in legalizing recreational marijuana, like in states like California, where they have paved the way for environmental legislation. Conversely, federalism can sometimes incite disputes, particularly when state rules oppose that of the federal government. This is often seen happening with regards to immigration and healthcare. Federalism also affects the allocation of resources. For example, the funding of educational programs varies significantly from state to state, leading to drastic oscillations in the quality of education across the nation. As its most effective, federalism encourages innovation and local solutions. At its worst, it results in inequalities and deadlocks. As Madison expressed in Federalist 45, the powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. Those which are to remain in the state governments are numerous and indefinite.
So what is it about federalism that makes it the framework of the American government? It's all about balance. By ensuring proper distribution of authority between the national and state governments, Federalism prevents monarchical rule while also having the flexibility to combat local and national challenges. But, influenced by countless factors like Supreme Court rulings, political disputes, and the needs of the populace, this provided equilibrium is never stagnant. Federalism is what ensures our government may remain adaptable, dynamic, and unfortunately a bit chaotic sometimes. Keep in mind, next time you're voting for your mayor and your president, that you're actively participating in the backbone of American democracy, federalism. And then let me do the open letter. Wait, I almost forgot the open letter. Let's dive in. Among the numerous advantages promised by a well-constructed union, none deserves to be more accurately developed than its tendency to break and control the violence of faction. The friend of popular governments never finds himself so much alarmed for their character and fate as when he contemplates their propensity to this dangerous vice. He will not fail, therefore, to set a due value on any plan which, without violating the principles to which he is attached, provides a proper cure for it. The instability, injustice, and confusion introduced into the public councils have, in truth, been the mortal diseases under which popular governments have everywhere perished. As they continue to be the favorite and fruitful topics from which the adversaries to liberty derive their most specious declamations, the valuable improvements made by the American constitutions on the popular models, both ancient and modern, cannot certainly be too much admired, but it would be an unwarrantable partiality to contend that they have as effectually obviated the danger on this side as was wished and expected. Complaints are everywhere heard from our most considerate and virtuous citizens, equally the friends of public and private faith, and of public and personal liberty, that our governments are too unstable, that the public good is disregarded in the conflicts of rival parties, and that measures are too often decided, not according to the rules of justice and the rights of the minor party, but by the superior force of an interested and overbearing majority. However anxiously we may wish that these complaints had no foundation, the evidence of known facts will not permit us to deny that they are in some degree true. It will be found indeed, on a candid review of our situation, that some of these distresses under which we labor have been erroneously charged on the operation of our governments. But it will be found, at the same time, that other causes will not alone account for many of our heaviest misfortunes, and particularly for that prevailing and increasing distrust of public engagements and alarm for private rights, which are echoed from one end of the continent to the other. These must be chiefly, if not wholly, effects of the unsteadiness and injustice with which a factious spirit has tainted our public administrations. Well then, that's a lot to digest. Who wrote this? Considering that the paper was written by a clear advocate of federalism, and that one of the most famous of this era was James Madison, let's go with him.
Hey. Long before federalism had a name, far before the dawn of electricity and the world as we know it today, came the early stages of United States federalism. Let's head to the thought bubble. Alright. And then there's like a cut, and then... Alright, ready? Whoa. Not that far back. Oh, and then there's another pause. Okay. The aim of the Founding Fathers when crafting the U.S. Constitution was to obstruct the weaknesses seen in the Articles of Confederation, in which the central government lacked proper power. The new Constitution offered a solution to such an issue by allowing specific authorities to the federal government, including managing commerce, minting currency, and declaring war. These are what are known as enumerated powers and are explained in Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution. Let's now talk about the 10th Amendment. It said that any powers that are not specifically given to the federal government nor withheld from the states are reserved to those respective states or to the people at large. A dual structure like this was made to refute tyranny and did so by fairly distributing powers in government. Thank you, Thought Bubble. That's it.